The secret that Arei received. You're a murderer, and you hold no remorse. That's my secret.
What the fuck?
My. What are you saying?
That's whack.
Why?
Well...
The hell?
To be completely honest, well...
Could it be?
That's true.
What's wrong with you?
Well... To be completely honest,
How cruel! Stop.
Allow me to elaborate.
I don't understand.
I understand!
That's true.
Asshole! You're delusional.
What do you mean?
You piss me off!
Get off your high horse.
That's correct.
You're wrong. Even so.
Pardon me. It's unfortunate. My. Oh.
Ugh, you piss me off.
I mean...
Wow!
Get it?
I know that she's dead, and that she's never coming back. I know that I'll never be able to talk to her ever again. But even then, I have to know that when she was still alive, she was still trying to become a good person. That if she lived, then maybe there'd be a world in which we would both be friends. If you really say that you lied about making Arei kill herself, then tell me the truth. Tell me that you didn't make her lose hope. Please, tell me what happened last night between you and Arei.
I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, because that's what Eden would do. And I want to be like her. I need to become a good person. Maybe I misinterpreted the situation. Maybe I'm just reading your actions in bad faith. Is that it, David? David! Say something! If it turns out you're lying about sharing our secrets to manipulate us all, if it turns out your whole inspirational personality was only an act to make you look good, if it turns out you said that I could change, but never actually meant it, then that makes me feel really relieved. Because if all that turns out to be true, then we're the same. I was pissed at you for a bit. For lying about your own secret, selfishly pretending to be a good person, and hurting other people in the process. But then I realized that I have no right to get upset with you, because that's exactly the kind of person I am. I'm a manipulative, two-faced bitch. I pretend to be cute so that I can treat others like trash. I only care about myself, and I always hurt others for selfish and stupid reasons. Of course I wanted to change myself. I mean, who really wants to be the bad guy? There's not even anything positive you could say about me. Still, for the longest time, I thought it was stupid to even try. I'm rotten to the core, and I might as well be a different species from saints like you and Eden. A pig never hopes to grow up into a human, because it knows that a metamorphosis like that is impossible. No matter what, I'll never be a good person. And yet, despite all that, David, you... It turns out that you might be a total piece of shit after all. If even a perfect inspirational speaker like you turns out to be an asshole, then there's no such thing as a good person. Like Santa Claus, it's nothing more than a lovely lie for children to believe in. And that makes me relieved, because it means that I'm not too far gone. It's okay that I'll never be a good person, because no one else can be either. Even Eden. I'm sure that even someone as sickeningly sweet as Eden did something to hurt someone else in the past. Even someone like her must have made a mistake she couldn't take back. No one's perfect, after all. David, even if you're a bad person, even if I can't look up to you anymore, we can still be friends. You can be my second ever friend, right after Eden. Actually, we're pretty much perfect for each other. We're two manipulative asshats who do a piss-poor job of pretending to be good people. So we can look out for each other as two shitty people. And someday in the far future, maybe the two of us can be a little less shitty.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Oh.
What are we doing?
In that case... You know...
It's undeniable that Arei has a broken neck, and no other visible injuries.
Are you sure? Maybe you're just incompetent.
I thought we all agreed that Arei died of hanging.
I don't agree. For death via hanging to result in a broken neck, you'd need a longer drop height and for RA to weigh more.
I agree with that.
I see. I think that... Even so. Good idea. Shit.
I don't get it. thing is... How dare you!
Think about it.
There's no evidence that Arei hit the ground, so the killer must have somehow stopped her body before that happened.
Do you think it's possible that the killer was working with Arei after all?
If the killer had that choice, why wouldn't they use a less complex murder method?
Then, did the killer perhaps use some sort of mechanism to hang Arei? Like a motor?
Is that even possible? It's not like there's some special machine that you could use to hang someone.
No, that's wrong! Listen to me.
Huh?
Explain yourself, Nico.